What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, man, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod. I am on YouTube at March 4th Pod. I'm over there on the TikTok at March 4th Podcast. Hey, you know what, y'all? If you made it here, then that means you found us somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to check out another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman Podcast. How is everybody doing, man? I hope that life finds you well as this is hitting your eardrums. I hope all my moms out there had a great Mother's Day. We're coming on this Tuesday, a few days after that, so I hope that that recognized holiday you got a chance to relax and you got a chance to spend time with family and feel the love because, you know, we would not be here without our mothers, man. My mom is a huge supporter. Huge supporter. Say that 3 times fast. She's a big supporter. There we go. That one's not as much of a tongue twister for me. She is a big supporter of the podcast, and just in general, my life, man, has been just a real rock and a solid foundation for me, and a great role model to look up to, man. I love my mom so much. She's got a big heart, and she's hilarious and very kind. And an empath, really cares about the well-being of others. So shout out to my mom and all the moms out there who are there and support and love and just are awesome. You know, we wouldn't be here without them, truly, and I wouldn't. And I'm very grateful for my entire family, including my mother. But you know, this episode being a few days after Mother's Day, I wanted to give a shout out to all the moms out there. And, you know, to all of you, I hope that as this is hitting your eardrums, everybody's doing great. And if not, keep your head up, keep moving forward, hang in there, stay tough, keep the faith and be kind to one another and be kind to yourself. I say that at the end of every episode, but I'm trickling it in the beginning too, man, because mental health is important. And I know there's a lot of wacky stuff going on right now in the world, but how you treat yourself and how you treat each other is of paramount importance, regardless of where you come from, what your beliefs are. I don't care who you are, where you're from. Sorry, I'm not even into, you know, the boy band stuff, but that song was like everywhere when I was 12, and 25 years later, I can still quote most of that chorus poorly. But for real, it doesn't matter, you know, where you're from or what you believe in. Just be kind, be good to each other. And be good to yourself. And like the show's namesake, March 4th, that's what I hope y'all do. I hope that 25 is off to a great start. And I hope that you guys are chasing your dreams and being good to each other. And speaking of chasing your dreams and being good to each other, this week's guest is a friend of the show. He's a great guy. And he, like numerous people, I say it all the time, but I love it when people want to come back on the show. And this guy is a very creative person. He's a very funny person. He's a very hardworking person. He's a family man himself, friend of the show, repeat guest. He is none other than Steven Aripez, who is an independent filmmaker from California. His feature film, The Director's Cut, he wrote, produced, directed, and edited. And I want to say that was his first time on the show back in like 2023, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He, as a writer, has also done filmography that includes Switchblade Holiday, The Morning Star, and Rob the Robber. He was also a producer on Switchblade Holiday and Rob the Robber. And he is back on this one because his new film, Romancing with Herp, has a Kickstarter that is live right now that you can donate to. Please listen to the podcast first. But you're going to hear all about Romancing with Herp on this one. It's a raunchy comedy, raunchy romantic movie for fans of, you know, gutter cinema. If you're a fan of like Superbad, Knocked Up, and it's basically like, you know, there's something about Mary. You will love this. And there's also elements in there of like Quentin Tarantino. Steven is a huge movie guy and started out as a writer and discovered his love for directing and producing and doing all of that. Like I said, he wrote, produced, directed, and edited his feature film, The Director's Cut, and big fan of horror. We've geeked out about horror and actually did a horror specific movie podcast, which also featured Dylan Baumgartner. Shout out to Dylan, a real verse and slingshot, awesome guy. I digress, but that's why Steven is back on this one, because he's got a new raunchy romantic comedy out. It's got some cool names attached to it: Nikki Howard, Steve Bridges, and Nick Hibbets. They're all hilarious. If you are somebody who has a penchant for funny, inappropriate humor, um, and just funny people in general, I'm sure you've seen their names pop up when you're scrolling on your Instagram reels, or in my case, spamming the bejesus out of everybody that you know and love with 1,000 reels. I think some people have quit on me because they're like, this is too much. But really, what they need to know, a little inside baseball for Mikey here, and I never talk about myself in the third person, but the caffeine is working. If I stop sending you stuff, that's when you need to worry. All right. So if I'm on my usual, like, I sent you 250 Instagram reels or TikToks this week, it's because I'm interested in our friendship, or whatever, you know what I mean? I love you, I care about you, I'm interested in it. If I stop sending you stuff, that's when it's like, something's going on. Mikey's quiet. Just FYI, if you're like, oh, I hate how this guy spams me with reels, I will just say I have very good taste, and I have a penchant for hilarity, and so does my boy Steven. And I was really excited to get him back on this show to talk about Romancing with Herp. He reached out to me beforehand and sent me like the cool teaser reel that he put together, talking about the Kickstarter, talking about why they want support, the vision that he has for this film, how he wants to shoot it, in Temecula, where he's from. And he's also one of the brains, quick aside, behind the Temecula Valley Film Festival. So wanting to shoot it in Temecula, getting the names attached to it that he did, and just the background of what Romancing with Herp is about. We get into all of that. We get into some of our favorite comedies, and it was just a great conversation as always with this guy. So without further ado, I'm going to shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Steven Aripez. Here it is. Alrighty, there we go. Well, Steven, it's always good to talk to you, man. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. Obviously got the Kickstarter going for Romancing with Herp. I know you're always working on something, man. So thank you for taking the time as always, brother.
No, man, it's an honor to be here for the third time. It's always great chatting with you, dude. Yeah, yeah, I'm just happy to be on again, man. I appreciate it.
Welcome. You're welcome. So just as a place to start, we were kind of talking about it before we officially hit record, but the people that are in this, we'll get to that. But just as far as this idea, I think a lot of people, especially if they've listened to you on this podcast, are gonna, be familiar with you from horror and the director's cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time I had you on. Gosh, that was probably like almost 3 years ago now. It's crazy how time flies. But this is obviously going to be like a pretty raunchy comedy. You know what I mean? So talk to me about kind of like the genesis of this idea for Romancing the Herp.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, look, I've always loved comedy. I've been a fan of comedy. I would say comedy's probably the second favorite genre. Horror is my like true love, but comedy is a very close second. I mean, when I was growing up, like comedies, I don't know, like they were like one of the most like prominent things in my life. Watching comedies from because I grew up, I was like 10 in the 90s and stuff, like late 90s. I was like, watching, Friday and, all those great movies, even the PG-13 ones like Austin Powers. Dirty Work is one that I love a lot with Norm Macdonald. And then, going into the 2000s, Judd Apatow movies kind of came out and they kind of like, to me, changed the game of comedy, especially like raunchy comedy. Yeah, and then I feel like especially the raunchy comedy kind of like was so big at some point in the 2000s, all of the 2000s. And as we got into the 2010s, it started to kind of like die off. And then obviously, culture, changes a little bit, and like the PC culture comes in, and cancel culture and all that stuff, and it kind of like those type of films don't really get the push, and when they get made, they don't really, I don't know, they don't really get made as often, and they only get that type of push how they used to get, and to me that's very sad, and that's something that's missing in the comedy genre nowadays. I feel like you don't really see there, there'll be maybe a few here and there, but for the most part they're pretty much they're not really there, especially in the movie theaters, and if they do, they get kind of buried away in the streamers, and you don't really know about it, and it really is, there just haven't been that many ones being made, or ones that are that great, honestly. So yeah, Romancing with Herb kind of came from just like that need for that time, the late 90s 2000s raunchy rom-coms that I grew up loving, and still love today. I think a lot of them hold up. Yes, some things might have not aged as well, but it's still hilarious. It still makes you laugh. People still quote the films, and I think it's just one of those things that like will never go away. It's, I don't know. I just remember going to the theater and watching like Superbad in the theater, or Knocked Up, or The 40-Year-Old Virgin, or even like Anchorman, Old School, all those movies like during that time, and Hangover, like it was just like a blast, and like people like came out to see comedies. And I feel like now, you know, I feel like now's the time to get more comedies out there, especially in the theater, and my goal with this, is to get a theatrical release, like a legit theatrical run is a goal for this. I don't want it to just go straight to streaming. I want it to get into theaters, and I want it to have a life in the theaters before it goes into, streaming, which inevitable to happen. It's going to happen. Streaming is not going anywhere, but I, that feeling of watching it with an audience, like a comedy, especially when the comedy is hitting, which I think I've written something that can hit. It all depends on like all the pieces coming together properly, the right casting, all that stuff. I think, yeah, I think I could have something that could be, memorable, and something where people would want to go see and get out of the house to go see too. So, yeah, that's kind of like the genesis. And I kind of was like, now the movie deals with, genital herpes, so I was trying to think, a lot of those movies that I like, 40-Year-Old Virgin's like probably like my favorite. It's my favorite comedy of all time, the 40-Year-Old Virgin. And it had such a great high concept of like a 40-Year-Old Virgin, it's in the title, and to me, that's what I was kind of going for, something that's like, I wanted to make a rom-com, and something that had like something that's like will grab your attention right away. And to me, STD, that's something that I've never seen really done in a comedy. And if it has, it's never been, I guess, done in a way that should be memorable, or has been memorable in my opinion. I did look up like, have there been any movies with genital herpes, and I didn't see anything that popped up that was like, there was one movie I think had John Chow in it, but it was like he gave some girls like syphilis, so he had to like go like tell them, hey, you might have syphilis or something like that, but that's curable. General herpes is not. That's something that sticks with you, and it's something that also it's something that I think it's been like is researching into it. And I know people that have it as well, and it's not something as like crazy as I thought when I was younger. So like researching it, and then like for this, like, oh, it's like not the end of the world, honestly, but it does have a perception. It's to this day, way worse back then, but even to this day, there's still like a perception of what do they call it? Stigmas, it's stigmatized or whatever. It has like that negative connotation to it. So I wanted to kind of like, oh, that'd be a cool thing to bring in, just kind of make it a not a movie about that, but use that as something to kind of propel the story of the movie. And kind of like also make it like it is what it is. It's just a thing that many people have and many people go through, and it's not something to be kind of like demonized or something like that, So that was kind of the genesis. And like I said, yeah, just and then I kind of, there's a whole nother element to the story that really clicked. And then I was like, okay, I'm writing this, and it took me like about 2 years to write almost. So yeah.
Dude, I remember going to see Superbad in the theaters as well.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that movie with like some of my best friends, and we were all just like dying. I didn't see 40-Year-Old Virgin in the theaters. That one I saw after it had come out on DVD, which kids DVDs are these discs that. But yeah, so super bad. I remember that. I remember seeing Borat too in the theaters, like how raunchy and crazy that was. Um, but yeah, and Judd Apatow, obviously. I mean, growing up, like one of my favorite comedies to this day is still Heavyweights. And you think about how young he was when he was doing that. Back I actually this year is the 30-year anniversary, I believe it was.
Mm.
Wow. Um, so to see him go on, obviously I didn't know him at that time when I was a little guy, but as time went on and as Adam Sandler and all those guys started to ascend, it was really cool to retrospectively be like, oh, he did Heavyweights too. I'm pretty sure he like co-wrote that whole script as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, can you give people, so for the untrained, maybe cinematic movie fan, obviously the people who are into movies are going to know what it is, but for people who aren't aware, and you kind of explained it in terms of like the genesis of the movie and the kind of movies that this is inspired by, but the term gutter cinema for maybe the untrained movie, the casual movie watcher.
Yeah. Yeah, so gutter cinema. I mean, it's like those movies that I'm talking about, movies that deal with like shock humor, things that like kind of gross out humor. American Pie is a gutter cinema, Um, the king of gutter cinema is John Waters. He is, the GOAT in my opinion, and he's definitely an influence on this movie. He's like, there's a mix of him for sure in Romancing with Herp. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Pink Flamingos, Multiple Maniacs. All his movies have that gutter cinema in them because they're all essentially comedies with maybe other genres mixed in there. My favorite being Serial Mom. I don't know if you've seen that one, but that one's with Kathleen Turner. That one's great. But yeah, it's just basically, toilet humor, as people would say, things that like are offensive at times, or, things that people don't, shouldn't talk about, and gutter cinema kind of is that type of humor, dick and fart jokes or stuff like that, so stuff like that, um, it's an unapologetic in my opinion. And one thing about, Romancing with Herb, it has all that stuff, but I definitely want to have like the filmmaking be very cinematic, and I have some ideas to like be able to like visually punch up the jokes, and also it be like a beautiful image, as well. Like Punch Drunk Love is a great example of a movie that's a rom-com and that's also like a dark comedy and stuff like that. And Paul Thomas Anderson did that movie, and that movie's just gorgeous to watch. So like visually, like my influences are like that movie, or the Rules of Attraction, Roger Avery's film, which is also kind of a dark comedy that has romance in it and stuff. Definitely raunchy as well, but definitely in the dark, more of a darker raunch. And that movie's shot beautifully, and the visuals in that movie are probably like top three of all time in my opinion. And also this movie called The Worst Person in the World, which came out in 2022. This Norwegian film, which is a great film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. You can watch it on Hulu. But yeah, it's called The Worst Person in the World, and that's like a coming of age rom com through this woman's perspective, and it's really hilarious. But it's also dark, But like that's like the visual components that I'm kind of going for, the visual style that I'm going for, but mixed in with that Judd Apatow, Adam McKay, Fairley Brothers, Something About Mary is one of my favorite movies as well. Like that type of humor in that, So it should be like, I think that will create an interesting experience, and also something like make it feel even more fresh,
If my memory serves me right, didn't you say in like the Kickstarter either video, it's kind of like there's something about Mary meets like Knocked Up with like John Waters in there, is my memory.
Yes, definitely.
Dude, I love all those movies, and like you said, they may have not aged the greatest with the times that we're in, but at the same time, if you go back and you watch those, none of the humor, and that's what I love about all those guys, none of the humor was mean spirited. Like when they're teasing each other, they're saying awful things. But in terms of like the groups of people that those things may involve, it's not mean spirited directed at certain groups of people or certain types of people. It's those guys busting each other's chops, like the 40-year-old
Exactly.
Superbad, like those movies are still hilarious and knocked up too. Like I love
Yes.
Jason Segel's character in that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like took himself too seriously, but was like really friendly too. Like
Hmm.
there was the one scene, I think it was with Katherine Heigl, and he's getting ready to leave the room. He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go make a protein shake." Like it's just such like a I mean, like, but like that's why I love those. I mean, forgetting Sarah Marshall is
Yes.
like one of my go-to. Like it, I feel like it's a temporary cure for like anxiety or depression. Like same thing. Dumb and Dumber is probably my all-time favorite comedy, but yeah, forgetting Sarah Marshall is great. It's just like such a great. I feel like comedic take on like the realities of going through a horrible breakup when you're the person who want the relationship to end. Um, and then like the Aldous Snow character, like when you mentioned
Hmm.
the first thing that made me think of was him, like when he's talking when he's uh when he's talking to Kristen Bell, Sarah Marshall, and at the resort, and I think it was when he was letting her know that he was going to be going on tour, and she was upset that he hadn't mentioned it before, that he was doing like this whole world tour, and he's like, "Well, I've not told you I've got, genital herpes because it's not inflamed at the moment." When you said it, like the whole herpes thing, it kind of made me, you know, think of that. And like you said, I think on a serious note, right? Like you mentioned, STDs, there is like a stigma attached to it. Just like there's a stigma attached to anxiety, especially if you're a man. And I think being able to talk about things and also bring humor to it is cool. I think it's cool that you're doing that. And I'm excited to see this thing take off, man.
No, definitely. And going back to that scene that you were talking about with Jason Single and Knocked Up, that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Even before that, he says he's like, "Wow, it's crazy how early the milk arrives." Fucking kills me, dude. And so he just his delivery is so good. His character is hilarious. But yeah, forgetting Sarah Marshall, that's like I mean, a lot of those movies that I mentioned, they're like comfort movies. Comedies to me are one of the best comfort movies, and I hope that's the idea with Romancing with Her. But it's like something you could just put on and it'll put you in a better mood. You know what I mean? And those movies do that for me. Like 40-Year-Old Virgin is probably my ultimate comfort movie. It just makes me laugh. It's like those guys are my friends. Obviously, they're not, but it feels like I'm hanging out with them, and I love that hangout vibe in movies in general. And I think those type of movies do it phenomenal. And this my movie as well has that vibe, that hangout feel, guys busting each other's balls. And like I agree with what you said, it's not mean spirited. I never felt like those things were mean spirited. Again, people are gonna take it however, you can't please everybody. And even with with Romancing with Herp, there is, it is very raunchy, has all those things. I'm sure it'll probably naturally offend somebody, but it comes from a contemporary perspective. It's not like me just trying to relive that decade. It's set in 2020. Be set this year, 2025, all that stuff. But like with a modern perspective, but definitely the raunchy element is going to be there, and it's definitely also has a story that's unfolding. There's a little bit of a mystery in there as well. So, yeah, which is definitely probably that's where the John Waters element really comes in. But yeah,
Yeah, man. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of those movies. And like you said, that's like the perfect way to describe it. It's like just a great hangout movie. Another one that I would throw in there too, um, is a Hot Tub Time Machine. That's one
yeah,
I feel like it's just it is such a raunchy movie, and like I feel like that one kind of flew under the radar a little bit, and I loved it just because like it was cool to see John Cusack do
mm-hmm.
hadn't done comedy stuff before. Like obviously there's like a lot of dark humor and high fidelity and stuff, but like him being just like this dude going through relationships and like the music piece of that, but like it was cool to see him do a movie like that. Rob Corddry was so great in that. Like that whole movie was just that movie was awesome, man. So yeah, that's another one that I would probably throw in there where it's just like it's super raunchy, but it's a fun ride and it's a fun hangout movie, you know.
Definitely Hot Tub Time Machine was one that I really enjoyed. And that came in the later end of that was like 2013 or 2014, if I'm correct. But that was like, they weren't really they were like, that was like the dying point of those type of raunchy comedies and stuff for sure. Bridesmaids is another good one, but I'm glad you mentioned High Fidelity. That's definitely an influence of like great visually looking film and funny movie too. One of Jack Black's best performances. He's so great. That movie's just great on so many levels. But yeah, it was cool seeing John Cusack at that time in a movie like Hot Tub Time Machine. But yeah, yeah, all those movies are so good. I mean, I just feel like they don't. It does. This feels like such an old person thing to say. They don't make him how they used to, especially in comedy. I think people say that in general about movies, and there's some truth to that because I feel like right now the industry is very locked into IP. Minecraft just made buttloads of money, and I took my kid to see it. It was entertaining, but to me, it's during those times too, like that we're talking about, like Knocked Up and all those movies in the '90s, like people would go out and you were seeing movies that like so most of those movies weren't based on an IP, a popular IP, during that time. And I really miss that. And I really think there's a shift that we will get to at least a happy medium with getting original movies back into the theaters where people go out and see them, instead of just like dumping them on streaming sites, and not getting any type of theatrical window for them at all. So that's what I remember during that time a lot. It's just like going there and like, you're seeing these movies that like nowadays don't get any real play in the theaters. And like back then, the 2000s and the 90s, like all these movies are like original movies. Maybe they're based on something, but nothing popular, or maybe based on a book or something. But a lot of original content being put in the theaters and people going out to see them. And that's what I want. Especially like, and again, I want that communal experience for all my movies, but I'm definitely shooting for that for Romancing with Herp.
90s and the 2000s. I googled it while we were talking. Hot Tub Time Machine was 2010, so yeah, it was like kind of
Okay, 2010. Okay,
right on sort of the tail end. And there were so many good people in that movie too. Craig Robinson, Clark Duke, Chevy Chase, Lizzie Kaplan, Crispin Glover was great in it. Like it was such an awesome movie. Actually, I think isn't Sebastian Stan in it? Yeah, he is, and he was the bully in it. Like it was such an awesome movie. But yeah, it's I mean, on one end, like I love superhero movies and stuff. Like I'm a big Batman nerd. Like I love Batman. I've loved all of them, even the ones that people would rank maybe at like sort of like the bottom of like the guys who have played Batman. I've loved all of them. I mean, Michael Keaton would definitely be, you know, but rest in peace, Val Kilmer. Like I love Batman Forever with Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones. I remember when that came out. I was in first grade. I had that Batmobile from that movie. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was Schumacher who did that. Same guy who did The Lost Boys, which is like one of my favorite movies of all time. And I still love that's still like one of my favorite Batmobiles because I had like that Batmobile. But yeah, man, like so I love all the superhero movies and stuff. And like you said, like I get it, like, you know, from a studio perspective. Now listen to me, I get it. I don't know nothing about Hollywood, but just but like recently listening to Seth Rogen, he was on Dax Shepard's podcast, his show, you know, and kind of like his experiences of you know what that world is like, and just, you know, how that job, if you're like running a studio, it's sound, you know, just from like a sports fan's perspective, as a basketball fan, it almost seems like being like an NBA coach. Like within 3 or 4 years, like you're just going to get put through the ringer if like something isn't a hit and it doesn't make money. So it, you know, with less people going to the movies, it seems like, just as an outsider, you know, again, not being part of the film industry, they're not taking chances, you know, like they did. And because the 90s, God, there were so many, like, of course, like when I go to say it, like it won't come out, but I mean, there's so many, whether you're talking like Kevin Smith or like
Hmm.
independent director here, there were so many great like independent comedies and independent films. And then and even stuff that like big studios did that were fun comedies. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad that it's kind of gotten away from that. So on one end, from like a business perspective, like I get them doing like the IP stuff, but what I don't think that they realize, and I'm sure, and you would know it as the movie guy that you are, the writer director that you are, Steven, is like, I really do think that there's an appetite for that. Like, especially like people in their late 20s, early to mid 30s, late 30s who grew up with those movies. Like, I miss those movies. I miss going, like, I saw Forgetting Sarah Marshall in the theater. I saw Superbad in the theater. I saw Dumb and Dumber probably way before I should have. R.I.P. Just to see everything. But like, so yeah, so I'm excited to hear that there's, like, especially for you, that, as an independent filmmaker, you're like, hey man, like, I'm excited about what I wrote. I wanted to get to that level, and I do think that there's an appetite for it. Like, people just gotta take a chance, man, because there's a lot of people who still love those movies and will watch them. Like, if any of those are ever on TV, I mean, I own like most of them, but if any of them were ever on TV, I would still watch it because I just love those movies.
No, definitely. They're like I said, they're the movies that were like you see it on TV like, oh, this part's about to come up. I got to keep watching it to this certain scene or whatever. They have so many great comedic set pieces. And you're not like you're totally right. I mean, they're thinking they're thinking safe, you know. IP comes with a more security net, you know what I mean? And that's what they're that's why they're doing them. And it's I think anybody can kind of understand that like business point and be like, yeah, okay, Minecraft has a lot of followers, and that's the whole thing with a lot of the things is just like, and I've seen people talk about that. Who was the actor? Maya Hawke from Stranger Things. She was talking about how the business is very obsessed with how many followers do you have more than the ability of the actor. They're casting the people with the high, with the huge Instagram following or TikTok following, whatever it may be, over the actor that's probably the better person for the role, but they're like maybe like 100,000 shorter in followers. They go with that with the person, you know what I mean? So they're it's just in a strange time. The industry's in a weird. They're not making anything right now. They're very like they're being very stingy with like greenlighting things. So really, and I feel like we're romancing with Herp. I kind of knew quickly like I'm still a new filmmaker, like trying to go pitch this out, like this raunchy movie that is you know has not really been in the spotlight for a while. These type of movies, especially me wanting it to be. I could just see like thinking of my script, like I could just feel like people tell me, "Well, you can't do that," or "You need to chase that," or "I'm sorry, you gotta take out that scene," or "You gotta like tame that." I'm like, I don't want it to be tamed. It doesn't need to be tamed. Like you're talking about, like some of these a studio did fucking something about Mary. That movie, someone puts splooge in their hair, okay? And that was like a massive hit. Like it was a huge hit, and I wish I saw that movie in the theater. That must have been such a great moment, just to experience that. Whoever got to see it in the theater, I don't know if you did or anything like that, but if I did, oh man, that's I would still if it's playing anywhere like in a theater. I would love to go catch it. When they do the retrospective movies playing in theater, that's one that's on my list where I'm like, I gotta go see something about Mary in the theater if like they're playing at the New Beverly, like or these like New Beverly or the Vista, those theaters that project movies on film and stuff like that, and the classics and stuff like that. Oh, I definitely will make the trip if I can make it. But yeah, it's just it is. So that's why I'm going this Kickstarter route. Um, and but I hopefully, but like there's a little bit of a strategy as well. And speaking of like the whole influencer thing, I kind of gone that route in a way, not exactly, because of some of the people attached have big followings, but the difference is I already was fans of these people. I already thought they were funny. It's not like around 2016 or 2017, I've had people with other stuff that I've tried to get made like, hey, some people tell me, hey, you need to really get on this influencer train of getting people with a lot of followers because that's the future and all that stuff. But I'm like, yeah, but like, can they act, or are they right for the part? And it's like, I'm not just gonna pick anybody unless they're right for the part. And yet over time, I think it's kind of, people have been going to YouTube and all that stuff to kind of build a name for themselves, and TikTok or whatever, and there's more options back then, and what the options were more limited. Like the biggest influencer was like someone who was doing these dance videos or something, like, or talking about makeup. I don't know what, like nothing that I'm like, that makes me think they're going to be able to do this role right, or they're right for the role. Um, so yeah, me being fans of these guys already helped. And like Steve Bridges, I wrote the character. He plays this character. He does like sketch comedy, so he does this character called Junior. I wrote that character in the script for him. He was the first guy I reached out to, and I was like, bro, like, if you won't do this, I have to rewrite this whole fucking role. And he's in the movie quite a bit. So, um, yeah. So, I think now it felt organic. It didn't feel like back then. Back then, it would have felt forced. Like trying to find someone that has a lot of followers to be in a movie of mine or get them attached to my movie. And it just wouldn't felt right. So I never really did, because I, like, first of all, I couldn't find anybody. And I think now it's like more of a, there's more talented people on social media and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I don't agree with that, with people trying to be like, hey, cast them because they have more followers than this person. I'm like, that's not, in most situations, that's, I don't think that's the right way to go about it.
It's all about who jives and who's
Mm-hmm.
right for the character. And I'm glad you brought up the people that you got attached to this, because that was what I was going to transition into. And thanks again so much, Steven. It's always a pleasure talking with you, man. Yeah, when you sent me an early peek at the Kickstarter video, I was like, oh my God, I know these people. Nick Hibbets, Tober Williams, right, is another one. You mentioned Steve Bridges. Like, those are guys that like just with my sense of humor and stuff pop up in my algorithm and stuff like all the time. Like, I think Tober Williams was the first one of those three. And and when you follow people on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
follow each other, it'll, friends of yours that you follow on Instagram will be like, so and so like this too. So when I watched the Kickstarter video and I saw that's who you had attached with it, I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. What what was that process like, man? Was it literally just like a DM or going to their contact info and shooting your shot? Was it as simple as that, as far as getting their interest for this? How did that come about, as far as getting those guys attached to it?
So Steve Bridges was the first one I reached out to, and actually that kind of been started since the end of, I think, 2023, like Christmas time. I like would comment on something, like, because I've been thinking about this at the end of 2023. This idea was already kind of brewing in my head, and I want and then I kind of, I would watch his content, like, man, this character specifically, the Junior character that he has like multiple characters, but this one's his best one in my opinion. He plays, it's like a bro type character that I swear that I've met multiple times growing up. So that's why it's so funny to me, but he does it in such a great way. And I'm like, man, this is like that side character in a friend group, in the raunchy comedies or rom-com, like, the main character always has like a friend group, that gives him advice or something like that. I was like, this would be a great character because he's unique to that, because he's like, you don't want to, he's just like really bizarre, but he's also kind of like endearing and charming. So I was like, man, I'm gonna write it, fuck it, like, I don't know if you'll say yes or not. But I remember, like, he'd be on a live and I'd be like, hey, I commented on a live, like, hey man, I'm writing a rom-com with your Junior character in mind. He'd be like, all right, that's what's up. So that was like the first acknowledgement, okay, that maybe he'll be open to the idea. He didn't know who I was at the time. And then I would, comment and stuff like that. And then he does cameos, when people do cameo, like, so I had him do a cameo for my wife, because my wife, like, she thinks he's hilarious, but that character of Junior irritates her in a good way. And so I thought it'd be funny to like, because I'm that guy like, hey, look at this shit's funny, huh? She'd be like rolling her eyes, and I'll be, and I was like, so I got her this surprise cameo for her birthday of Steve Bridges playing Junior, and in the thing you could type in stuff like info about that he needs to know. And I also told him like, hey, I'm working on this rom-com, for you and stuff like that. So in the cameo, he responded to that rom-com, like, hey, yeah, send it over, whatever. So finally, when I had a draft, like a decently solid draft, I just reached out to him I DM'd him, and I think his email was available. I can email him through his Instagram as well. It was there. So I emailed him, and he responded pretty quickly, and he's like, all right, I'm going to read it. And then I sent him the script. He loved it. He was like, damn, bro, like I literally thought you got the character perfect. Like it sounds like stuff that he says, like it's crazy. And I was like, yeah. And he was just like, dude, I'm down to be attached. I told him basically, like I just need you to be attached so I can use you as like, be like, hey, like if we get the budget, Steve Bridges is in, and he's gonna be in this. So they did a letter of intent saying that I can promote them with the movie and stuff like that. And then at first it was just Steve for the longest time, because then I saw Nick's stuff, and I was like, first of all, Nick looks like one of my best friends. He looks like they're twins, like my buddy Dylan. Nick looks exactly like him. The only difference is that my buddy Dylan, like his hair, he doesn't really have hair on the top, but they have the same beard, both gingers, and it's kind of crazy. They look like doppelgangers. Okay. Anyways, and then I saw Nick's stuff, and I was like, this guy's fucking hilarious. And then it finally dawned to me, like, he could be one of the side friends, like character, and like, if he's interested in doing acting like that, and the more the merrier, and it was help the chances on the movie. But it came from like, he's funny, I think he would work in the role. So I hit him up, sent him the script. And he, at first, when I sent him the description of the movie and like kind of what happens, I had like a little pitch deck. He's like, what? There's this character in this movie that he was just kind of like, what the fuck is this? And I'm not going to reveal what that character is. So he was a little bit like hesitant. I'm like, let me send you the script, and then you can make your final judgment. And he's like, all right. So I sent him the script. He came back. He's like, this is fucking hilarious. I'm in, So, and then he got logged in. And then he recommended Tober, who I had been following already, actually. And I was like, but I don't know if I have anything for Tober. The only thing I have is this like glorified cameo scene, like one scene, but it's very pivotal. One of the funniest, I think it's a good comedy set piece in the script. And I was like, I think, in the Kickstarter, his character's name's Dr. Nut. Okay. So I was like, I was like, if he wants to do this, I'll see. Let's see if he's interested. He said he's down. So I hit up Tober. He was like, he read it. We talked. And he's like, yeah, dude, this is a great scene. Like, this is a memorable scene. I'd be down to do it, of course. And yeah. And then I told him like, yeah, I'm gonna do a Kickstarter. I'm gonna go the crowdfunding route. And but I'm gonna need your guys' help, or not. This is not gonna do shit. Like, no, you know what I mean? And so I have the Instagram Romancing with Herp, and they're on there, and they promoted it on there, and they've been promoting it. So yeah, yeah, that's how they got involved, and luckily they're all into it.
So for the deets of people listening to this, if this is the first time they're learning about Romancing with Herp, right now the Kickstarter, as this episode is airing, is live, and it's been live for roughly 2 weeks. This is going to be hitting people's ears on May 13th. What are some of the fun kind of giveaways that you thought of or participation for people who do this? Because Kickstarter's been on my radar, I think, since probably 2011. They've been around for a minute. They're kind of as far as crowdfunding. From a band story that I did when I used to do music feature stories. Then my buds and Tropic Bombs, shout out, have they're the Bumper Music podcast. They've done the Kickstarter route multiple times to help put together the final product. Beyond like the music production and just the kind of like give back to the fans.
Yeah. So I mean, one thing, like, there's a bunch of crowdfunding sites now, but Kickstarter is the most popular one because it's been around the longest, and I think it's the one that people know it's legitimate. I mean, it's just like, yeah, Kickstarter, you know what it is, when it comes to that field of stuff, crowdfunding. But as far as like the perks that people get, like there's a bunch, but like basically, you'll be able to get early access to the film is one of the things. We're gonna have signed posters from the cast. We're gonna have an exclusive Kickstarter poster. We're gonna have stuff like being an extra in the movie if you want to be an extra in the movie in a scene that would have Nick Hibbett's and Steve Bridges in it. And there'll be access to the premiere, free tickets to the after party as well. A copy of the script if you're a film nerd and you want to see my writing, you could have that. Like personalized special features, like digital packages for anybody who wants to see the making of it and all that stuff. Thank you videos from the cast and crew, like specifically to the people who ever donate, all that stuff. So there's just a bunch of stuff like that and obviously like producer credit, associate producer credit, executive producer credit, community producer credit, like things that like show that you were part of this process of getting this movie made and stuff like that. But yeah, so those are basically the perks in there. I think the best. I mean, it'd be cool. I think the extra one's pretty cool because it'd be for a very cool scene. And we also have things like going to visit the set as well, and be there for like a couple days and see the process of everybody, doing their thing, the behind the scene process. Travel not included. Okay, we're indie, Phil, or so we can. But if you can make it out there, we'll hook it up with like a hotel and stuff like that, So, but yeah, those are basically the perks. Is just that type of stuff, a lot of digital stuff, but we have some, like I said, the posters and stuff which are limited, and so that's like the physical thing of it. But yeah, those are the perks, and I think people are gonna dig them.
It sounds like a lot of fun, man. Is it gonna all be shot out in California?
Yes, it's gonna be shot in Temecula. That's the area. It's gonna be shot in my hometown because I have access to things here, and it will help reduce costs. So that's like the main factor. Really, I'm trying to bring this area, trying to infuse film into this area and put it on the map. So that's what I'm really trying to do. And I think this area is very filmic, and there's a lot of cool spots here, a lot of cool local spots that'd be cool to get them spotlighted on. So yeah, Temecula, California, that's where the movie takes place in, and that I wrote it with that in mind. So yeah, the only way I'm not shooting in Temecula is somehow I get some donor or this angel producer with money, and they're like, we can't shoot it in Temecula. I'm like, all right, we'll shoot it somewhere else then, I guess. But yeah, Temecula is going to be the place.
You'll hit like Seth Rogen or Ben Stiller's production companies or whatever, and you'll get them on board. But no, shout out to Temecula though, man. The Temecula Valley Film Festival that you guys have been doing, man. That was the last time you were on here. So yeah, I think it's kind of the spotlight. So even if you do get an angel donor, it'd still be cool to do in Temecula, man. Because I think that's when you shoot something like, especially like you said, in an area that you're familiar with and that you have access to. Plus, I just think it gives more character to the film when you're able to do stuff like that, as opposed to like L.A., Vancouver, Atlanta, obviously Georgia. There's been so much stuff filmed in Georgia, and not that it's like not cool, because from what I understand, it's a lot cheaper to film like in Georgia compared to like California, or like people will go to like Vancouver or Toronto because they can get that New York-y vibe without having to actually spend what it would cost to film in New York. But no, I think it's cool that you wrote it with Temecula in mind. Because even like a movie like Orange County, like the county, like that was like Jack Black's probably breakout, before he became like a star with like School of Rock. Obviously there was like High Fidelity. Way back in the day, there was this movie. I don't think it was. I'm trying to remember the studio who did it. But he was in a movie when he was really young called Airborne. I don't know if
Oh yeah.
it is Seth Green's in it. It's like
Hmm.
Cincinnati, like this surfer dude moves to. It's such like a '90s kids movie, but actually there's like a lot of fun like action scenes and stuff in that. But yeah, very baby faced young Jack Black is in that. But yeah, like Orange County, like that was just it was the title of the movie, and it like the whole movie kind of revolved around um what was not Chet Hanks, what's
Colin.
yeah, it kind of revolves around him like wanting to get out of there and
Hmm.
donor friends and go to Stanford, and what a great movie. But yeah, I like it when stuff is location specific because there's been so much, and again, understandably so, but there's just so much that is shot in like LA or Atlanta or New York. It's cool when something's like a little bit more small town or like has that kind of vibe to it.
No, definitely. I mean, that's like the big reason. It's like this place. I know they shot, there may have been some stuff shot here or close to being shot here. I know that movie Sideways almost got shot here, but it didn't end up getting shot here, but it was one of the top candidates for the location. So yeah, no, I think this place is very untapped when it comes to like being seen in a movie and stuff like that. So I really want to put the spotlight in this area. It's like I like hometown filmmakers. I love that Kevin Smith shoots in New Jersey, Red Bank, and all that stuff. Like I think that's cool. Like there's more places than New York and LA, in which a lot of movies feel like even if they're not shot there, they feel like they're set there. You know what I mean? So I like the idea of shooting somewhere that's, like I said, untapped and people aren't familiar with that much. Um, and yeah, I think it'd just be great to just put a spotlight on Temecula. Will Temecula love the movie? I don't know. I don't know if they would be like, yeah, we're known for that fucking herpes movie. Hey, but if it's good, it's good. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. I think that's all that matters as long as the movie is good, and then they can get over it.
Before we put a button on this bad boy, and thanks again, Steven, so much, man, for taking the time. It's always great talking with you, as always.
Hmm.
For people who aren't aware, maybe they're going to be brand new to this, without giving too much away, and we've already talked about the names that have been attached to it, and all those guys are hilarious. Can you give kind of just a quick, sort of like high level elevator pitch as far as the plot, and where the title came from? Because I don't think we've gotten that part of it yet, other than it's a raunchy comedy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so okay, so the movie follows these two characters. It's a rom-com, as Chelsea and Derek. They they one of them Chelsea tells informs Derek that she's tested for general herpes, that he should get tested. Okay, so that's basically the opening of the movie, with those characters. And in the midst of them navigating their new uh essentially their new condition, with general herpes, and telling their friends and being open about it, and also trying to navigate their next relationship because they're not together. They had a fling that lasted a couple months, and then they didn't take it serious, so they went their separate ways. So in the midst of all that, there's a predator in their county, a sexual predator. Okay, he's like a master of disguise. Okay, and that subplot is threaded through their story, and they find word about it. They become aware about that person because of someone, like a high school connection, a mutual person that they know from their school days, has been affected by that predator, and they use that predator as a distraction, or in a way as a distraction of their general herpes diagnosis. And but also that kind of brings them closer together because they're kind of going through this, and they also kind of like, hey, let's just figure out who this person is doing this thing uh to these women specifically, and passing a certain type of STD to them, as well. So there's a dark element for sure with that character, But like I said, that's like a thread that's through the main storyline, the relationship between Chelsea and Derek. Um, and that character is very out there, that Predator character. I'll say this, that it culminates to a very memorable climax. I'll just say that.
And again, with you coming from like being a big fan of horror and stuff too,
Mm-hmm.
and like the darkness that comes with that, like I actually think it's cool that you're kind of intertwining like a mystery element into the comedy. You know what I mean? I think that gives it kind of that edge. So I'm excited, man. Like I was really excited when you reached out, and I thought that the teaser that you put together, if you will, for the Kickstarter, kind of letting people know, hey, this is what you're getting. This is who's attached to it. I know as of right now, there's potentially some more. I know we can't name any names until.
Yeah, yeah. There might be someone, and I'll drop it. I'll definitely let everybody know if this person comes on. But yeah, I'm talking to somebody else for for the lead character of Chelsea. So maybe it will be already revealed by the time this is dropped. Who knows? But I can't say it right now.
Hilarious, by the way.
Yeah.
We're both aware of her, and she's friggin' hysterical. So yeah, man, I'm really excited. Again, like I'm a big fan of all these movies, like we were talking about. Like all that stuff is in my wheelhouse, and I feel like there's an appetite for it. Just to put a button on this. And thanks again so much, dude, for taking the time. Like even horror for a minute had like a lull on the silver screen, and then it came out and it total then all of a sudden you saw like all these studios like, okay, we got to have like our it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's IP there. It's Stephen King, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Huge risk, but at the time, like I think the first part one was like 27.
17, yeah, 2017, yeah. But also Get Out came out that year. I mean, it was like it was a 2017 was a big year for horror for sure. And then I feel like it's kind of like it's been doing pretty well for it's probably one of the genres that's done really, really well for the industry, without ballooning your budget, you know? Then you got like the Smile movies and all that stuff that do well at the box office. Um, I was gonna ask you something, Mike. What would be your top five if you have five? If you can name five, let's just say if you can't name five, at least three comedies of all time. Like, what are the if you have five, give me five. But what are those?
We've named a couple of them. Dumb and Dumber is probably always going to be number one.
That's like number one, right? For sure. Great movie. I love it.
Right behind it would be Tommy Boy. Chris Farley and Michael Jordan were my two childhood heroes and like idols growing up. As a basketball junkie, MJ obviously, and then comedy wise, like we weren't like in my house, we weren't like Disney kids. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
fancy cable channels and stuff. So I mean, we had cable, but we didn't have like Disney was like a channel you had to like that was like extra. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. True. Yeah.
Disney movies that I like heavyweights. I like so yeah, top five comedies would probably be Dumb and Dumber, Tommy Boy, Superbad. I would probably put Heavyweights in there.
Great movie.
When I was a kid, so there's four. So Dumb and Dumber, Tommy Boy, Superbad, Heavyweights, and I would probably say Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Honestly,
Nice. That's a solid list, man. That's a great list. Love all those movies.
get tired of watching any of those movies ever. Like I'm pretty sure I have the DVDs for all of them. Um, and yeah, like and all for like different reasons. Like Tommy
Mm-hmm.
Boy, kind of like there's serious, and I think that's like kind of like especially for Chris Farley, there's some serious elements in there,
Mm-hmm.
loosely based from interviews that I've heard with like him and David Spade and other people that were attached to that movie of like, his dad in real life was like I think like a road salesman and was
Mm.
storyline is kind of like loosely based on him being like the son and like and then Superbad obviously I mean it's it launched so many people. Obviously Michael Cera was like a child actor. He had done oh gosh, what was that Jim Caviezel like time warp movie? Frequency. he,
Oh yeah, Frequency. Love that movie too.
I think we're the same age. I think Michael Cera's like 37 now, or gonna be 37, and and that movie came out I think when I was in like sixth or seventh grade. So yeah, he was a little guy, but but that obviously
Hmm.
it was Christopher Mintz-Plasse. I believe that was his first movie ever.
Yeah, McLovin. Yeah.
And I think his mom actually had to be on the set, or like his mom or dad, because at the time when he was filming it, he was like 17. So some of the raunchy stuff that they did, they had to have like the legal guardian,
Yeah.
like so. And then forgetting Sarah Marshall, like we talked about, and then Dumb and Dumber just being like an absolute. Um,
You can't go wrong with Dumb and Dumber, man. It's too good.
I think as great as Jim is in that movie, and that like really, really totally, like, I mean, OG people know about him on In Living Color and stuff, and he,
Oh yeah.
but like obviously Dumb and Dumber was like a launching point for him. I don't know that there's ever been another in any genre. I don't know that there's ever been another actor who had a year like he had in '94, where it was like Dumb and Dumber, The Mask. I think,
Ace Ventura.
like I mean,
Yeah, that's crazy.
plans, man. And I saw so and like of all those movies, I saw Dumb and Dumber in the theaters. I think I saw all those movies in the theaters, so that's kind of like what we're talking about too, like the attachment to it. I saw Tommy Boy. Well, no, Tommy Boy I didn't see in the theaters. Tommy Boy I saw when we were on vacation in Chicago, but Dumb and Dumber I saw with my grandpa, and my brother. He used to take us to see everything. Superbad I saw with like some of my best friends when it came out back in '07. It's crazy that that's 18 years old now.
That is crazy. I graduated in '07 high school, by the way. That was my that's when I graduated.
Yeah, your attachment to it, and for me, it was like a year between. I was a freshman in college,
Mm.
freshman and sophomore year of college. So yeah, super bad. I saw in the theater. I saw Forgetting Sarah Marshall in the theater with some buddies when it came out. Um, yeah, yeah. So yeah, Tommy Boy, super bad, Dumb and Dumber, Heavyweights. I didn't see in the theater. That
Yeah.
that was always like, I mean, in terms of some of the most quoted movies with my siblings and with my close friends, a couple of my I mean, we quote. That's one of the most quotable of any movie of any genre is Heavyweights.
Dude, Heavyweights is so good. That's like that's when I think of Heavyweights, I think of me and my brother because we watched that so much growing up. That's like one of like the like family friendly comedy movies that's still like not like super family friendly, but it's like it's just reminds me of watching it with my brother so many times on TV, and renting it as well. That one, Bushwhack. There's just like those movies are great. And Heavyweights, yeah, I showed that to my daughter recently. She loved it, you know. um, that movie would probably be like I can't even imagine how that movie would be made now. You know, it probably even might be a little too have its own issues nowadays, I guess. But it's a classic, and Ben Stiller's character is one of the greatest villains as well. He's so comedy in that movie. Tropic Thunder, by the way, is another one that we didn't even bring up. That's a great. Now that's talk about a movie that would be difficult to make now. But that movie's so good.
Even this has been awesome, dude. Thank you again so much for taking the time. I feel like I could talk to you for 3 hours, brother, but I don't want to chew your ear off all day. But
Yeah, yeah.
I'm really excited for you. I love the director's cut, and people go check that out for sure as well. But it's really cool to see you do like a raunchy comedy. I can't wait to check it out, man. So one more time for the people, I'll put up the links in the podcast description, but let them find more information about this.
Yeah, I mean, Romancing with Herp, you can go to the Kickstarter. It's linked in our Instagram bio, Romancing with Herp. That's the Instagram. And follow us on Instagram because we'll be, I post stuff there on related to just comedy and the movie in some way. Obviously, stuff related to the Kickstarter. But yeah, just Romancing with Herp on Instagram and Romancing with Herp on Kickstarter. So, yeah, if you want to be a part of something original, something bring back something that was great and something independent and creative, support us. Romancing with Herp. Go to the Kickstarter. You can donate $1. Okay? That's even, you can even donate just $1. Just, you don't have to donate anything crazy, but any donation helps. And also sharing the, once you donate, share it to somebody else. That's the key thing, getting other people to see it. So I'm appreciative to any amount. So yeah, Romancing with Herp.
Alrighty, dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with Steven Aripez. Make sure you go follow my guy on Instagram at Aripez Films, and that is spelled Aripez. And please also go follow Romancing with Herp on Instagram at Romancing with Herp, Herp. And most importantly, I would say the link that is the link of all links in this week's podcast description is the Kickstarter link for Romancing with Herp. That's what we're trying to do, is get this bad boy funded so Steven can make it the way that he wants to make it, with who he wants to make this movie with. So please click that Kickstarter link. You can donate as little as $1, and you will help support the vision of this film. Once again, if you love raunchy romantic comedies, if you love gutter cinema, if you love movies like Knocked Up, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, There's Something About Mary, all those comedies that we were talking about, Superbad. And also, if you love guys like Quentin Tarantino, John Waters, you are going to love Romancing with Herp. And I really want to see this vision come together for Steven. He's a great filmmaker. He's a great guy. He's hilarious. And started out as a writer, like I said at the jump. And so this is a dude who knows how to write screenplays. He's a total film buff and loves movies. And I really want to see this bad boy get done. And once again, some of the names he's already got attached to it: Nikki Howard, Steve Bridges, Nick Hibbets. All these folks are hilarious. For those of you who scroll on Instagram and you got good taste like me and you like funny stuff, I'm sure you've seen their work, but please go follow those links. Like I said, they're in the podcast description of this episode, so just scroll down to the bottom. They'll all be there. But they've been putting out funny content already on the Romancing with Herp Instagram, and Steven is trying to boost it, and I'm hoping that I can give him a boost and give everybody involved with this project a boost, man, because I'm really looking forward to it. And Steven's a great guy. I consider him a friend of the show. Again, this is a guy who's a writer, producer, director, an editor, a movie buff, a good dude, a good dad, and just an all-around good guy. And that's why I do this podcast. It's great to connect with good human beings out here and share their dreams with all of you. In this case, we're trying to crowdfund something, but beyond that, it's just sharing these stories about people who are persevering and chasing their dreams. A lot of people quit before they even start because they don't think they're worthy, or they have people in their lives who don't have those dreams or think they're too big and didn't chase dreams in their own lives, and they tell them that it's not practical and what are the chances. And at the end of the day, man, I think sometimes when we think, whether it's film or sports or music, we forget all the other careers that are involved in making a movie happen, or making a successful athletic endeavor, whether it's a sports team or a franchise. Like, look at all the people who work in the front office, look at all the people who work behind the scenes, so never discourage anyone, and certainly don't discourage or bad talk yourself either from chasing your dreams, man, because there's the stars we see in front of the camera and film, and then there's all the people who work behind the scenes as well. And there's talented writers and directors and filmmakers like Steven. And so that's really the point I'm trying to make here, man, is there's not one way to do what you love, other than just don't quit on it. You know what I mean? Success is not an ascending staircase. It's a roller coaster. There's ups, there's downs, there's peaks, there's valleys, there's twists, there's turns that you don't see coming. Sometimes you're upside down, sometimes you're sideways, and you're like, what the hell is going on? But the most important thing is that you don't quit on who you love, and you don't quit on what you love in this life, because the only way to guarantee that you're not going to get where you want to go is if you stop. And so that's why I love doing this podcast as an independent podcaster like myself, who edits this and produces it and re-records these intros and closes like 900 times because I'm a perfectionist and I'm way too hard on myself. Um, but I love doing this, man. And I love connecting with great people like Steven. So if you love movies and you enjoyed that conversation and you love raunchy comedies that I'm sure there's a lot of studios afraid to make now, like we talked in the in that conversation. If you love movies and you love good people, go support Steven. Go support Romancing with Herp. Once again, at Romancing with Herp on Instagram, at Aripez Films on Instagram. The Kickstarter link is in the podcast description for this episode as well. So please go support it. He's a great guy. Thank you once again, Steven, for coming on and having a great conversation with me, man. And I'm not saying it to toot our own horns, but I could talk to you for like 6 hours, brother, about movies and about basketball. The basketball stuff didn't even make it in because I just wanted to keep it about romancing with Herp. But, you're a great guy, and I really appreciate everything that you're doing. And you're an inspiration to me as well to continue chasing my dreams with this podcast. So I'm happy to give you a platform whenever you want, a good sir. And to all of you who listened to the entire thing and have made it here to the end of the show, I want to say thank you to all of y'all as well, man, because I love doing this show. I've been very humbled. Not that I was cocky or anything. I don't mean it that way. But it's been very warming, I guess is what I'm trying to say, to see the show continue to grow and reach new people. And I always feel like I should be doing more, and I probably should be in some senses, living a more balanced life so I can dedicate the energy that I need to this to continue have it grow and lose my imposter syndrome and, oh gosh, what if this happens or what if that, but for real, thank you to everybody who listens to the show, those of you who like and subscribe and share, you tell your friends about it. All of those things go a long way in helping the show get out to more people. So if you did make it this far, and you enjoyed what you heard, if you take the time to leave a rating and a review on the show on whatever streaming platform you listen to, you tell your friends, you share it, you subscribe, all those things, like I just said, that they'll help this episode rank higher in the algorithm, and more people will hear about Steven Aripez and Romancing with Herp. And that's what I want, man. I want to get this bad boy funded. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to Steven. Keep the faith and be kind to one another and be kind to yourselves. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.